Okay. So last session we have seen MVC application, how we create the basic CRUD application by using database first approach, and everything like by using scaffolding means everything it was only creating means from model, insert update logic, and UI also. So that was happening because of scaffolding. Okay. Now from today we are going to see or start our API project. Okay. So open the Visual Studio, click on the new project. Now we have to create API project. So search just for the API. The first option will ASP.NET Core Web API. Select this, click on next. Just provide the name. Let's say employee.api. Okay, employee API is already there, I think. Core.api. Just a name I am giving and the location wherever you want to store. Click on next. Okay. Framework which you want to use 7 8. So 8 is the latest one, so we have to go. Authentication for now I'm not explaining, and remaining things use controller we are going to need, so that's why it will be checked. And let's click on create now. Fine. So it has created our basic project. Now if we see the folder structure, what things we have? First, again, like dependencies I have explained, like it's like packages what we need to run the .NET Core application. Okay. Then properties is there. Controller, by default we will get one controller created. Then we have app setting. So this app setting is like in previous version. Now from core we got this app setting, but in previous version we used to have web config. So those who are from the .NET, they might know what is web config. So web config is like a configuration setting file where we used to keep all our sensitive data, means your connection string. If you are sending mail from your API, so that mail protocol and everything, means your email ID, username, password, HTTP protocol, pop mail protocol, whatever sensitive information we used to keep at web configuration file. But that file is now getting replaced in core by using this JSON file. It's a normal JSON file now. Okay. After that, this HTTP, it's just an executioner. After that, we have program.cs. So, like in Angular, you know main.ts, which is the starting point of our Angular application. Just like that, program.cs, this is our main file which gets start when our application gets start. From here, our API project get executed. Okay. So program.cs is the file from where our application gets started. Okay. Very few files we get in ASP.NET Core Web API. Okay. Now let's open the database. So SQL Management Studio. Let's open the Notepad also. So whenever we start the API project, first thing obviously we create the API project. Then obviously we need to create the database. Okay. So let's connect to this database. Connect. Let's create a new database. Employee database is not there now. Yeah, let's create new database. Employee TB. Fine. Just the database name I am giving. On click of OK, it will create the database. See, now inside this database, I need to create a table. Let's create new table. I'm not using that query. I'm just directly using the UI. EMP ID. This will be my integer, primary key, and identity. Three things. This is my primary key column. I'm setting it as a primary key, not null, and identity also. Whenever you create the table, don't forget to set it as an identity. So we don't have to send the unique value again and again. Database will take care of that. Fine. EMP name, varchar 50, not null, email, Again, varchar 50. Let's say it is null, not mandatory. Okay. Contact number, varchar. Here we can say maximum 10 digit only, and it is required. City, varchar 50. This is also optional. So if you see our column, employee ID is mandatory, name is mandatory, and contact number is mandatory, and contact number should have maximum 10 digit only. Some validation we have added. Let's click on save. Employee master, just the table name I am giving. Click on OK. So we have created a database. Inside that database, we have created one table also. Fine. Okay, table is visible. Now, inside this API project, first we need to create the model folder. What's the purpose of model folder? What do we store in model? Model.
All the attributes.
No, model.
Classes.
Classes only, na? As I said, na? See, MVC structure. MVC. What's M stands for?
View controller.
Model. M stands for model. Nothing but model, nothing but classes. Okay. V stand for view and C stands for controller. So in API project, we don't have view, but we have model and the controller. Okay. So by default, we don't get that model folder, but we can create. And again, it's like just to separate out the classes. Okay. So right click on the project, add, and what we need to add? New folder. New folder, and folder name will be model. Fine. So we have created a model folder. So remember again, see, those who are already in the .NET framework, they will understand it and they can implement it properly. But those who are not from the .NET background, they are new to this, understand the process only. Don't try to understand everything, like what is this, what is this. For now, just understand the steps. With what steps you are able to create the API. If you understand that, then you will slowly understand all the process also behind logic and everything. Okay. Whenever you are learning any new thing for the first time, don't try to understand everything in a first go. First understand overview, get used to that technology, then you can understand properly. Okay. So model. Okay. So as I said, in model, in last session, if you recall, we had that db context class. Anyone understand db context class? It was created by default with that command, database first approach. What's the purpose of DB context class?
It created the database connection.
No, DB context class. What the meaning of DB context? DB context class. What it will represent?
Database tables.
It is
Database.
replica something.
Just a minute. Let me send him details. From project group, can anyone send the photo of the meeting detail? Or let me share him. He's not able to join with the link. Where do we get the meeting detail? Why he is not able to join from the link? Wait. Just a minute. Just Screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So once you create the project, first thing we have to do is we have to create the model, mean nothing but classes. Now what classes? Obviously in API, basically we are going to do basic CRUD operation connected with the database, right? So first we need to create the model. So models are nothing but classes, means whatever the column, let's say if we talk about this employee master, if we have to create the class of it. So from Angular also, what do we mean by class? If I say you, this is the table, database table, and I ask you to create the class in Angular, what you will do? What you will
Use
do?
all the fields and
Data type,
the
correct?
data type.
Employee ID, colon number, EMP name, colon, like that only. Na? Simple class you will create. Just like that in API also you have to create, but that will be in a C#. Okay. Now, but before that, first we need to add the connection string. So connection string, where do we add it? So in app setting.json. Connection string as in the database. What is my database? What's the server name? What's the database I'm going to use? That detail you need to specify. Okay. Where is that project? What was the project last one? I don't remember what was the project. eStore, na? Let me just get that connection string. See, it has also the web application has also the same structure. Oh, here we didn't add. Where it was added. Hmm. Okay. Fine. So in this app setting, we have to add our connection string. So this is the connection string. In one project, we can connect many databases. In one API project, we can connect many databases. It should be possible or not? In one
Should be
API,
Possible, sir.
what can be the
But,
need of connecting with the multiple database?
Yes, sir, it's a possible.
No, I'm asking the reason. Why do we need multiple databases in a one project?
Maybe we are reading from one database and writing in another database.
Right? So there might be some scenario like if a project is huge now, so let's say employee related tables must be in a one database, product related tables must be in another database. It is possible because you cannot keep all the data in one database also. Okay. Or when we work on the production environment, we have to keep anyone aware about AWS or Azure cloud? Anyone aware? AWS or Azure cloud? How does it work? Or load balancer word? Anyone have heard load balancer? Let me tell you. Let's say you are working on a project. Let's say if we talk about Amazon application. So does Amazon will have only one server where it is hosted? Amazon.in. Will it have only one server or multiple server will be there?
Definitely not. They can have like localized access for local different places.
No. Yeah, that is like environment. I'm talking about just the server where we host our application. Let's say,
multiple.
right? So when we talk about production application, now what we do at a time, we create 3 servers. On all 3 server, we will have same database, same API project and same UI project. But why do we need 3 server? Now here comes the term load balancing or load balancer. This is available in AWS also, in Azure also, in Google Cloud and Apple Cloud also. In every cloud, we have this thing, load balancer. This is mainly we use in the production environment. Let's say your first server get failed. By any reason, your server got failed. So your application will work or no? Let's say you don't have multiple server. Okay. You just have one dedicated server. And if your server fail, your application will be down. Correct? But having a backup servers. So let's say first server get fail. Okay. And if user try to access the website, if first server is not responding, second server will act as a primary. Okay. If second is also not working properly, then your third server will act as a primary. So like that, load balance will work. Or even some case now, if first server is very busy and it is not able to, you can see like sometimes page is still loading, right? So server is not able to send the response in bit specific time. So another server will take the place of the first server and it will send you the response.
How the database they are managing? Because if I'm connected to
Same
one
database.
server,
Same database will be there in all.
they
See,
are
our
replicating the
build.
database.
Yeah, it's our API only. API application build, API build, we are hosting it on different server.
Oh, so the database is
Same.
same, single.
Obviously, na, how it can be different? If it is different database, different data will come, na? Correct?
Yes, this is yes. Okay.
Okay. So this is load balancer means as a backup server we add to our main server. If that fails, another backup server can act as a primary. Okay. Fine. Coming back to our point. So connection string, what do we provide it over here? Our database connection detail. So since we are using my local database, so let's use the server name. So this is my server name. It will go over here. Then my database. What's the database name? Employee DB. This is our database. Rename, copy, paste. Okay. Now this application result set, trusted connection and trusted certificate should be there. This I will explain later, and these are the default properties. Okay, it has a particular meaning, so I will explain it later. So in our API project, we have created a connection string. The connection string is testcon. So first step, you have to create a connection string. Add connection string in app setting. Okay, third step. Then in model folder, first class you need to create. So remember in last session, everything it has created. We run one command and model, DB context, classes, everything it has created. But now we are going to create it, everything. Okay. So we have to, in model folder, we are going to create a class, add class. See what will be class name, since it is our application is employee API. So we will name it as employee DB context. Employee DB context. Okay. So it has created a class. Simple class we have created. Now this class we have to override. Means in Angular, what do we do with implement? Na? Just like that, override. So override with DB context. It won't suggest right now. So see, nothing is coming also. It is not able to find the dependency because we have to first install the entity framework. Remember entity framework? What's the purpose of entity framework? What's the purpose of entity framework? To connect our database in an object-oriented way. So that's the tool which lets us to connect from our API project to our database. It sits between our API and the database. Okay. A theoretical definition is entity framework lets us to connect with the database in an object-oriented way. We don't have to go with that select star and we don't have to write the queries by writing _db.tablename.toList. So it's object-oriented way to connect to the database. So that we can do because of entity framework. Okay, it's a tool which we use to connect to the database. Okay. Now this in .NET we have this entity framework. In Java they call it as a Hibernate. So as I said, na, if you understand one language, Java is also easy. There also you can see the model and controller. Little bit syntax will be different. Obviously, language are different, but basic syntax or basic way of creating API will be same. Okay, fine. So first we need to install entity framework. So let's go to tool, NuGet package manager. What were the packages? First this, na, entity framework, and then we need SQL server. Okay, so you go to browse. Let's search entity core, the first library we need to install. Select the project and click on install. Click on apply, accept. Fine. Then second package, since we are going to use the SQL server, so we need to specify. If you are using SQL server, SQL. If you are going to use Oracle, Oracle. right? MySQL. Again, some databases are there. So that specific entity framework library you need to install. Okay. Let's search this package. Okay. We need to click on install. So two packages we are going to install. Entity
One more
frame-
is there. One more. I think tool.
tool, I think by default will get installed inside this. Let's see what other install.
We have to install.
Let's see. Okay, core tools are not there now. Let's install tool also. But I think with this, we should be able to do it. Was tool required in the last session? No or yes? We installed this two only, no?
Yes, we installed this too. Last time we will install it
Let's
kind of
try
tool.
without tool. Okay. So we have installed these two commands. Okay, let's copy. 4-step install entity framework. And these are one time, okay? Whatever we are doing till now, this is one time process whenever you are starting for the first project, first time. Okay? So you install the entity framework. After that, if you see over here, let's start again, colon, DB context. Make sure D is capital and C is capital. Now, see over here that bulb is coming. And see dependencies it is suggesting. It's like import statement what we do in Angular. Okay. Now it understand what is the DB context. Okay. If I click, my import will be automatically added. Okay. So now we have overridden this class with our DB context class, which is coming from entity framework. Okay. Now, so in this DB context class, first we need to provide a connection string way by which we can pass the connection string. So for that, we need to create the constructor. How do we create the constructor in C#?
With the class
Same
name.
name as a
Same
class.
name, right? Public, our same name, employee DB context, our class name, right? Round bracket. Now here you can see it is suggesting also base and everything. See, IntelliSense it is working. Now inside this, we have to provide DB context options. Means I said like DB context is a replica of your database. So this class needs the connection string also. Means your database detail also it needs. So for that we have to use DB context option builder. Okay. Or where is the option DB context options. Then here we need to provide our class name again, employee DB context. Okay. Then just whatever name options or something you will specify, means just an object of this. Okay. Options, then colon base. And here we have to specify the options. See, everything it will IntelliSense. Okay. So this is how your constructor will look like. In constructor, we are just providing a way. We have just provided a, now how do I understand, how do I explain this? This is like the DB context class. First, this class will represent our database. Okay. So by doing this, we are providing the options, means configuration for our DB context class. And the option means our connection string we are going to pass from our program.cs. So if we don't do this now, we won't be able to pass the connection string. Okay. So for now, create the DB context class, override it with DB context, and then you have to create the constructor like this. Okay. Let's write.
Sir, what is options here? Like
Option means-
some connections.
Yeah. So by using that option method now, we are going to provide the connection string from program.cs. That's why we have created this. DB context option means database detail. What is your database connection string, and so many parameters we can provide. So those option means database details and everything we can provide. I mean things which are going to be required for this particular class. We can provide it by using this option. Okay.
Something like alias name.
No, this is object. This is object. Option is nothing but object of this.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
So
What is this base colon base?
base theoretical, I also don't know what does base mean. It is from MVC only. I will check. Okay. Now this is our next step. Create DB context class and override it with DB context, and like this constructor you need to add. Okay. Then this class we need to register into our program.cs in services, builder.services. Okay. So now how do we do? Add that. So it's like dependency injection. So now this class, employee DB class, we are going to inject in our controller. DB context class, we are going to, this class object, DB context class object, we are going to use into our controller. So dependency injections in controller class, controller is also nothing but a class. So in one class, we are going to use another class object. So we have to inject that dependency, and that we do in program.cs. Okay. So over here, builder.services dot add DB context. So first we are adding a DB context class. So we have to specify now, like what is the DB context class. So add DB context. Okay. Then our DB context class name. What is the class name? Employee DB context. Here we have to provide this. Then as I said, we need to provide the options. So here round bracket options. Options dot, we have to provide the with database which we are going to use, that SQL. So use SQL Server. See here, use Azure SQL is coming. SQL Server, if you have installed that Oracle, na, so use Oracle, use MySQL, those options will come. Okay. So currently we are going to connect this DB, this database context class with our SQL Server. So we have to make use of this method, use SQL. Just a minute. Okay. Now inside that, we need to pass the connection string of our database, which we have stored into our app setting, right? Now to read that connection string, we can read it from builder only. So builder dot configuration dot get connection string. And here we need to provide the connection string name. See what it needs? This get connection string name. What it needs? See over here. Name. That too in data, what data
String
type?
type.
String data type. Okay. So whatever the connection string name, this testcon, you need to provide it over here. Okay. So this is how we did it. We are, as I said, program.cs is our first file which is going to execute. So here you need to specify like what is your DB context class. So builder.services, we are providing our DB context class. This is our DB context class, and for this DB context class, we need to provide the connection string also. So from, we are missing one bracket or what? Yeah. Okay. So we are providing the connection string. So this option we are able to use because here we have created that option. If we don't create this, now here you won't be able to use this. This option will be undefined, null. Okay. So this line is in program.cs. 6th line.
Hello.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So why are we adding the DB context in programs CS after adding the controllers? Because some of the controllers might be using the models, right?
Controllers in
It
the model.
should.
We use controller in the model.
Oh no, controllers will be using the employee table and something as objects.
See, this is
so
like
that.
The how your lines are executed means if
No,
you,
I'm saying that line should be below DB add DB context.
where below? Up in build?
After app. No, as line number 10.
No, means this line you need it at line number 10, like that?
Yeah. And this should be a voice order. There might be a dependency, right?
No, it's this fine. It will not.
See,
affect.
we just need controller in the first. Before executing this, we need the controller. We need to register our controller first. That's it.
You're just registering.
Yeah,
Okay.
we are,
So,
see, if you don't do this now, once you run the project now, you will get that dependency injection error. Because
okay.
this
Okay.
class, we are going to use, this class object we are going to use in the controller. So if you don't register it, you will get the error.
Okay. Okay.
Okay?
Understood.
So for that, in previous like dependency injection, we got from core by .NET itself. But previously, to manage the dependency injection, we had to rely on the third-party library. I don't remember the third-party library, but from .NET Core, we got our own dependency framework. But previously, we had to use another library. There we used to manage the dependency injection. Okay. So whatever we used to do, this is the same thing. Okay. Now, so in program.cs, we are just adding the DB context class. And while adding, we have provided our connection string also. Okay. Now, so now in model folder, I have to create a class for the employee. So what are the model purpose? First, we create a DB context class. Then we will create all the classes related to the table. Currently, we just have one table. So we will create one class. So class, our class name will be employee master. Okay, simple class I'm creating. Now in this employee master class, I have to create the properties. See, it is IntelliSensing also. Okay, so what you can write prop and then 2 times tab. It will create the basic getter and setter function. Okay, so now here you need to provide the columns employee ID, which is having employee ID means int means your integer data type. Okay, now this employee ID is your primary key. So above this property, you need to specify the details also. Square bracket, capital KEY. Now for this, you need the import also. So you just click on it. You can see import has been automatically added. We said this is my primary key by adding this. But this is identity also in our table. So that also we need to specify. So comma, database generated. And here, how we are generating database generated option dot identity. Okay. So whatever the rules and regulation you have set in your column, that's same because this is your replica of your table. Okay. So employee ID also was our primary key. So we added this. Again, it was identity. So we added this. Okay. Then second. Now second column is our data type with varchar means string. Employee name. It is having maximum length at 50. Okay. So here you can specify the maximum length. It's and first it is required also. See, this is not null, so this is required. So here we add like this, required. Then max length is also it has. So max length, round bracket, 50. Okay. Now it is saying like it can be null or something, but as we said, this is required. So obviously this table, this column doesn't is sometimes without providing the value, no record should be there. Okay. So that's why we don't have to go with nullable.
So same thing we applied we have to apply it for the first
No, required we don't have to specify. Primary key, obviously we said it primary key, right? So obviously
yes.
it's a required, correct?
Okay.
Database is going to insert now, so we don't have to add the required and min length and max length, nothing we have to add. Just primary key and the database option. EROP. Second is email. Okay. So now email is not mandatory. We are allowing null data over here. So we don't need to add anything over here. But we can add the pattern also. We said like this is not required, but when we are inserting, we need to validate that pattern also, right? So what do we add to for pattern? Anyone remember? Pattern or regular expression?
Regular expression.
Yeah. So here you can provide that expression, whatever the pattern we provide in Angular also, na, that same pattern you can provide it over here. So whenever inserting data, if the email is there, it will check, it will validate if it matches that pattern. Okay. For now, let's ignore it. And now this is nullable property. So you have to specify like nullable. Nullable string. It's like in why it is saying we need
Yeah,
this.
it is nullable. Otherwise, just there is a string. Just beside the string, just give the question mark.
Question mark.
Why it is saying
It will be enabled. It is
naming rule.
nullable.
This word must begin with uppercase email. Okay, it need uppercase. Why?
So before the string, you use the question mark.
Yeah, that I know, but nullable we provide like this, na?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
in
it
.NET,
can
In case of string we
provide
cannot
question mark.
like this.
Not here. Not here. Not here. No, here. Beside the string.
Beside the string.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Done.
But nullable we do like this. We do like this nullable. Correct?
Yeah,
But
in
I think
both.
with string it won't work because previously in a string we don't had there was no need to add the string as a nullable. We used to add a nullable for integer, boolean like that. Okay.
is it because yesterday I also trying the .NET C.
With old version,
Nah.
there was no need to provide
In
the
the
question
string,
mark. Okay.
Yeah, property always actually whenever we creating the null, then the property name should be first capital letter.
Okay.
Should be
Like,
the
let's try small property name. No. Capital small, it's not like that. I think string cannot be nullable like this. It can be optional. Okay. So if it is int boolean, we can make it nullable like this. But with string, we just have to add a question mark. Okay. With previous version, with previous 4.5, it was not needed. String was, it can be, by default, it was empty. But now it is, I think by
it's
default,
compulsory now also
right. Okay.
to put the question mark.
Fine. So this property we have created. Then what do we have? Contact number. So again, prop. Let's get the contact number. Again, data type is string. So whatever the means data type you have said, same data type you need to add it over here. I said like this is your replica of your table, right? So again, this is required. So square bracket required, max length 10 only. Okay. Now, whatever we are doing it over here, what this match in Angular, what it will match in Angular, what we did over here, what it will match with the Angular.
Validation.
No, validation is there, but the syntax, what this syntax means in Angular. This is property, correct? Nothing but property, na, of employee class.
Yes.
So in Angular also, what do we do with property? We use @input and @output, something like that. So this is also for this property, we are specifying the rules and regulation. Okay. So like contact number is required and it needs maximum length of 10 digit and we need minimum also, right? So comma, sorry, square bracket now, comma, min length 10. Okay. So contact number is required, max length 10 and min length also 10. Okay. Then what else is there? City. This is optional. Okay. Fine. So we have created our model. Like what are the columns we have in our table? That many properties we have created with getter setter function. Okay. Now, yep.
Sorry, email and contact do not have, no, email and city do not have max length.
Okay, max. Yeah. Let's add it. Again, these properties are not mandatory. Like these attributes you are adding, now this is not mandatory. You can add it if you want to handle the validation. Without this also you can do. Okay. Now, so you have created a class which is a representation of your table, right? Now this class you need to add in your DB context class as a DB set, saying in this database, this class is there. Okay. So public DB set. Okay, your class name. And what we do normally, we just copy the same thing and add a S and getter setter properties. Okay. So we are saying, like in this, as I said, DB context class is a replica of your database. So from your database, what are the classes are there which you are going to use? So you need to specify like that. You create a class and that class you register over here in DB context class as a DB set. Okay. So next step was, after this, create a class for your table. Once you do that, add your created class in DB context class as DB set. Okay, this we have done. Now our basic thing is done. Now from here, so whatever the steps we have done previously, that will be one time, but creating model and adding it, it will be new. Every time you will be doing it, because let's say you created new table. Again, you need to create a new model, and that model you will add it over here. Okay. Before that, everything was one time. You are not going to touch that again and again. Okay. So basic things are done. Now we can go ahead and create the controller. So right click on the controller, add controller. So last time we have seen everything was automatically getting created. Same way we will use it over here also. So you have to click on API because this is our API project. So what option I should select? I need the code ready by default. I don't want to write anything. What option I will create? Shall I go with empty controller?
Yes.
No. I want all the code automatic created.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have to go with
Read,
these
right.
three options. API
Yes.
controller with action using entity framework.
Okay.
Okay. Let's click on add. So if you are choosing this, you need to select the model. Like for which model you are going to need the basic CRUD API. So here you need to choose the model. Employee master is your model. Okay. Then your DB context class. Currently we just have one DB context class. Now your controller name. Controller name I am specifying as employee only. So last time you remember we gave the same name and it ambiguity was there. So model name we have said employee master. So controller name we are going with employee. On click of add. Now it is scaffolding that it will install one package, this core.tools, and then it will create all the basic API for us. Let's write the step also. 9. Create controller by selecting third option with entity. Okay. So this is one time. So first 6 steps are one time. After that, this is the only normal things which we are going to do. So see, everything it has created. Okay. Now let's test it. Our API is working or not. So just click on over here, HTTPS. Instead of that, you can choose IIS Express or anything, but it's basically same thing. Just click on it. It will run your API project on some particular port. /7031, I think. Okay. So now when we have to access the API, we have to access it like API/. Now in your controller name, you remember from the MVC, how do we access controller name and the action name? But here we don't have the action name. So we access the API by using the method get, post, put, delete. We can specify the action name also. But for now, remember, we are going to access by using method get, post, put, delete. Okay. So now we just need to provide our controller name. Controller name is API employee. Okay. So now if we provide this, let's add a debugger. Over here also I'm adding debugger, over here also, and over here also. So if I execute this, see which API will execute. Our first API got executed. Now here also HTTP and here also HTTP. But why this got executed? Why not this?
Because they don't have any parameter.
Right? So what URL we send without the parameter? We didn't set any ID, na? So obviously it will execute the method which doesn't have any parameter. Okay. Now we won't get any data because in the database we don't have any data. It is saying invalid object name employee master. So I think our table, what is the table name? Okay. So see, what's our table name? Employee master. And the model name which we have created is with employee. No, same name, no? Why it is not recognizing? Okay, sorry.
Capital small.
No, not that.
Your table name we not define, na?
Capital small won't be an issue.
So we have to write table annotation.
No, that is
In
optional.
square bracket and table name.
No, that is optional. So here we added S in the object now. So this might be issue. It is trying to find, do we have this table name present over there? But in our database, it is with master and we had added S as an object now. Let's try it one more time. Okay, now so since see over here, we had a S over here and we remove that. Now this object we are using in our container. So everywhere it will fail. Let's change it. What is the error? We saved, no? Still it is giving error. Rebuild. Build success. Okay, let's run and try again. Table we can add, but that is optional. I will explain how do we do that also. Okay, our controller name, API / our controller name. Let's continue. Okay, so it worked. Okay, so as I said, now in DB context, we have added this S, but in our table, we don't have that name. So that's why we have to keep the same name. Okay, so currently empty array we are getting. Let's try to insert the data from database. Edit. Let's enter data Chetan. Okay, from database, I have inserted 2 records. Now, if I refresh the API, continue, I should get the 2 arrays. See, I got the 2 array.
Good.
Okay, so our API is working. Now, can we test the post API and post API from the browser? Get API we are able to test, but can we test post API from the browser like this?
No.
No.
Right, we need to send the object. So now we will need that Angular application, or let me check if I have the Postman. Postman, I don't have it.
Can we use the Swagger?
Yeah, Swagger we didn't implement now. We have not implemented Swagger. First we need to implement, then only we will be able to access the Swagger now. Swagger doesn't come by default. We need to install the package and everything, right? Then your Swagger will come. By default, we have just created a basic project now. Swagger is not there. Okay. Now, let me explain the little bit about the controller now. Everyone understood till now? So you can see with 9 steps, you are able to create your own API. Just forget about everything. You don't know anything about class, object, inheritance, polymer. Was it required over here anything? Polymorphism or inheritance. Inheritance was using, see, each class we are inheriting. Here also we are inheriting. Here also we are inheriting. But if I just provided you these steps, By doing this also, now you will be able to create the API. Right? So if you are able to create the API, you understood it, how API work, how we connect that to the database, then you can understand things properly. Like what is class? Then you can explore this class, why we are providing this, what are these? These are database attribute annotations, means property annotations, required, min len, max len, what's the purpose of key, right? Okay, everything then you can explain, but it's just a step. So even though, as I said, like why we have to be a full stack developer, because market is like that. So adding one more technology in your CV obviously increases your options. And again, like either you can be a MERN stack where you will learn React, Angular, or Node.js, means JavaScript frameworks, or you can be a full stack where either you can learn .NET or Java or PHP, any API development. So the understanding from the company point of view is either wherever you specify, like I know the API, but not in detail. Let's say you talk about .NET Core. Like I know how how we create the API. If the project is already there, I can easily work. So they look for the confidence. They will ask you the questions, or they won't go into detail, but they will ask you like what is DB context, what are models, what is controller. These things they will ask. Where do we say, keep the connection string? So if you create these things also na basic project, you will be able to answer these questions with confidence. And obviously, if the project is already there, no one will ask you to create the project and everything, because while interview you specify, you know the basic things. If the project, and while mentioning in the interview, you can specify if the project is already created, I will be able to work on it because you can understand the code now, right? This is how we have created the CRUD operation. In another project, they might be using service and some things are there which we will see in the coming session. How do we implement the architecture inside this? Okay, but you will be able to see like how they are using, or they will provide you the training also. Like this is where we create the model. This is where the services are. This is where your database logic is. This is where your controller will be. This is where you add the validation. They will tell you. Then with this knowledge, you will be able to at least start on something. Getting it? Obviously, those who are .NET people, they will be able to relate it. But even though from Angular background also, you will be able to relate it. But you need to practice it. Okay. Now let me show you the controller. So as I said, we have created DB context class. So see that DB context class, we have added it over here. So whatever we have done over here, this is called dependency injection. So here comes the word dependency injection. What's the meaning of dependency injection? What's the meaning of dependency injection? Guys.
Adding one class into another class.
Okay, this is one definition. Anyone else?
Create an instance of one class, you need another class
Through
dependency.
the one instance, it should be access the whole class.
Correct. So see, it's like, see, this is a class and we are creating an object of it. Okay. So, and this object we are going to need in another class. So dependency injection, the word, what are the dependencies this class is going to need? When this employee controller class object is going to create, what are the dependent object this particular controller class is going to need? So that we need to register over here. Now understood the meaning of dependency injection? Same thing happens in Angular also. Dependency injection means what are the dependent object this class is going to need. So now dependency framework will create the object and it will destroy the object. You don't have to worry about object creation and object destruction. Dependency injection will do it for you. Understood? How do we create a class object? Let's say this is your class. Employee class DB is equal to new. Like this is how we create the class object. Same thing in Angular also we create object like this. Correct now? If we create a class, in component, if we have to create the object of class, this is how we create by using new operator. So this is a normal class. It's like you are using a new operator to create the class. Again, once this controller class is going to destroy, we need to manually destroy the object also. That is the manual work. But that work, dependency framework is doing it for us, from creating object and from destroying the class object also. So what are the dependent object you are going to need in this particular class that you register over here in the constructor as a dependency injection? Understood now? Okay. So what you will create? You will create a private read-only instance of your DB context class. And this you will register over here like that in your employee. What is this? What is this? Guys, what is this?
Constructor.
Constructor, na employee controller. See, it has the same name. Okay. So in constructor, we are providing a reference of this class over here. So this is a syntax of dependency injection. Okay. Then here we had the method. First method, like when we create the controller by using the scaffolding, it will create the basic CRUD API, get a get API with ID, a get API. Okay, let's try this another API. So when we run the API directly employee, okay, so it was executing this API/employee. So if we directly specify the controller name, it was executing this get API. Okay, let it get. Now we have two employees. Now after this employee, if I pass 2, okay, now I am accessing the URL by ID. So now it will execute second API. See, and whatever the ID you said, that ID we got it over here. And see over here. So find a thing. So in array, how do we find the particular record? By using find method. So here we have find a thing. So see, we got the particular record because we passed the 2, na? So it will find from your employee table with primary key where ID is 2. Okay, so you got the record in employee master, and this record you are passing. See, you got the single record. So this is get API only, but with a particular parameter. Understood? So while integrating API, you might have used get product by ID, get employee by ID, where you get the single object. So this is how that API will be over here in the .NET. Okay, here you see, if we pass 4 or 5, do we have any employee with 5 employee ID? No. So see what you will get. By default, you will get null. If it is null, you are returning not found. This is a status not found. Okay. Understood?
Yes, sir. Can you just start to send data through the post?
Send data through the
Post, like Postman. Through the Postman.
Yeah. We need to either install that Postman or Angular application we need to create. We will do that. Okay. Tomorrow we will do the CRUD operation, means this API we will integrate into our Angular, or by using Postman we will do it. Okay. Just let me explain this. Okay. So see, this is what this API will get you all the record from your employee table. Okay. Let's create a list variable. Now, how do you get the records from your table? Okay. So underscore context. What this context is going to refer? What's the object of your database class? Okay. Database class, DB context. From your database, from which table you need the data? Employee. So employee master. What do you need? All the data. So you will use .toList. Okay. So this one line will get you all the data from your table. If you have to do the same thing in database, what you will write? Select star from your employee master, right? That same thing, that was a query-based language, but this is object-oriented way to deal with the database. That's why we need entity framework. This is possible because of entity framework. Okay. Let's say if you're talking about the database, how do you write? Select star from employee master. This is your query to get the database table. If you are to write that same thing into by using entity framework, this is how you write. Okay. Let's add a debugger and let's check how do you get the data in list. API/employee. See if I execute. See over here on the list, you got count of 2 record, first record, second record, and this only we are returning. Okay. But here, when we create that controller, by default, we get async task and everything. Okay. So this async and task, I will explain in the next session what is this async and what is this task. What's the purpose of writing methods like this. Okay. And now if you saw my API, I don't have in one controller, you can see so many APIs are there. So in one controller, now if I copy this and if I paste it, okay, let's say I will change the method name, get employees. So now in my controller, I have 2 APIs with same method name. So will it work?
No.
How it
Conflict.
will choose, na? Conflict will be there. So now if your controller has more than get method, so now here you can specify the control action name after HTTP get round bracket, and then you can send the connection name. Let's say this is get employee master. Okay. Another get method is there. So here you can specify another name. This is the route name you are giving. Get employees. Okay. Now you will be able to hit the specific API. Now, if you want to hit this API, you need to specify the after controller name, you need to specify this method name. See, because both the method name, we were having 2 get method without parameter, and both have the route name given. So if I pass employee / just the employee, see, nothing is working because I don't have a get API now. Both get API I have, but here I have specified the name now. So now I have to specify the name. After that / method name. Now your API will execute. See, first got executed. Now if I specify the second will execute. Getting it? So if in your controller, you are just going to have a one get method. So you don't need to provide the route name like this. With HTTP GET also it will work. But if your controller is going to have more than GET API, obviously you need to provide the route name.
Sorry, sir. Sorry to interrupt, sir. My question is that, in the MVC, there is a view to print the data, right?
There is a view.
View
Yes.
to just get the data in front, right? But how it is it is working here without view?
See, MVC was a web application. Okay.
Mhm.
So there, let me open that last project. So this was a project, this was a web application, not an API, right? So in every action, we were returning action result that it load. So see what it was returning? View.
View, correct.
Right? It was returning view, means your particular HTML page from over here, index or something. And while returning view, you were passing the data along with it. See, dbcontext.master.toList. So while returning view, you are passing the data also, like what data you need to render in the view. Okay. But now in API, we don't have to return the view. We just returning the data JSON in JSON format.
Okay.
Understood?
Right.
So that was a web application. This is API only. We are just going to get the data. No view will be there. Now we have to get that view. Either we have to do that in Angular or React or in simple JavaScript also. another project we need to create. There we will integrate this API. Understood?
Sir, it means that through the list, like where list, it means that it is not returning the data.
From here?
Yeah.
No, from
We
here we
can,
are returning the list, na?
Yes. Just comment this return second line.
It won't work because here we have specified the return type. See?
Yeah. So
Specified the return type, na? So we have to return it.
yeah, we have to return, but we have added this list, right?
This list, na?
Yeah.
Okay. This I have just explained you how I wanted to show you na, how you get the data.
Getting data,
This
but
list
we
also you
cannot.
can return it over here. See, either you get that data into store into a variable and you return it, or the same line you can keep it over here also, one and the same thing. Understood? See, you are storing whatever data you get from over here into this variable and then you are returning it over here. If you don't need this variable, you can simply return it over here also. You don't need this variable now. One and the same thing.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, just to explain, I have created like that. Okay. So this,
And what about this sync and await?
yeah, I will explain that tomorrow.
Okay.
Sync and await why we need that. Okay. So this is controller code, automatically code we have written. Now, without that also we can write, right? So I will explain it tomorrow. We will write all this code by ourselves. Okay. Then we have post API. So post API, normally when you integrate the post API, what you send along with the API from Angular,
Object.
right? So that object, you will get it over here. See? But here in Angular also, when you create a function and that has a parameter, you need to specify the data type. So here also, what type of data you are going to get? So that class you have provided over here. Okay. How do you insert the data? Context, your table, add, and whatever the data you get, that you pass it over here and db.save changes. This is execute. So this line, whatever the line we have written now, insert into employee master table and values and whatever the values. So this line will actually do this thing. And once we in database, we click on execute now. So this is that execute, this thing will do. If you have to delete, first you need to find the record and remove. Update. Where is the update? Put method. This is how you do the update. You just have to specify like this model state got modified. So it will do the update query. It will execute the update query. Okay. Whenever you have to perform any operation, add, update, delete, you need to run this line, save changes. Okay. So if you see in add also we are running this line. After delete also you are running this line. And after put also you are running this line. Whenever you are changing something data, if you are reading some data, you don't need to do this. See, here you cannot find that db.save changes. Okay. So get API, post API, put API, and the delete API. Basic 4 APIs we have seen. Now, whatever this code that Scaffolding has created. So tomorrow we will create this whole code by ourselves. First, we will go with normal code. Then I will explain the async and the task. Okay.
To this add, we can add all field.
We can. Where?
Of
This
this
add,
class.
na? Yeah. So whatever the object you will get, it will get saved. In this object, you will get the object, na? Name, ID, key value pair data. That will get saved.
All field.
Whatever you send from your Angular application, whole data, I will get it over here. That data I'm passing it to be getting stored to the database. Okay.
Actually, here return create action is the one.
Yeah. So
Only
here
for
it is
ID.
what it is doing. Create at action. So it is saying like employee got created. You can get the new employee by executing this get employee master. It's just a message kind of. But we normally don't return like this.
So
We
it
return
means that
okay.
if we want to add the field, like we have to create like create action for ID, name, and all field, right? Here.
No. This line you are talking.
Yes.
This is just a return. Your data got inserted over here. That's it. But in API
Okay.
response, what response you see na in API? This is that response. So in your API response, you will get ID and this object and the complete object you will get in your API response. In subscribe, you get na.
What ID we have added, it will replace.
So this you will get it over there in API response.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Normally in post API we return OK. So OK means 200 na status. So we return OK like that. This also we will say to tomorrow properly. Okay. So this is just the by default code we got. Fine. So are you able to relate or is it very hard? Specific to Angular guys. If you follow the step, you will be able to create the API. Okay. So today we have means that scaffolding has created everything. Tomorrow we will create our code everything by ourselves. Okay.
विक्रांत बोल रहा हूँ, मैं कह रहा हूँ सर कि ये एसक्यूएल सर्वर के अंदर बहुत सारे डेटाबेस होता है, तो मल्टीपल डेटाबेस को एक्सेस कैसे करेंगे?
नहीं, एसक्यूएल सर्वर के अंदर एक ही डेटाबेस. अच्छा, मल्टीपल टेबल बोल रहे हो?
मल्टीपल डेटाबेस
नहीं नहीं, एक डेटाबेस के अंदर मल्टीपल टेबल हो गए.
हाँ, तो अलग अलग कंपनी के डेटा अलग अलग बनते हैं ना, तो उसमें डेटाबेस भी अलग अलग बनता है.
जो जैसे हमने
वो एक्सेस डेटाबेस की लिस्ट कैसे गेट करेंगे? इस डेटाबेस के अंदर अपने को बनानी है.
नहीं नहीं, डेटाबेस के अंदर कितने अलग अलग टेबल है वो चेक करना है तुम्हें कि क्या?
नहीं, डेटाबेस का नेम.
सर वो सिस ऑब्जेक्ट से फाइंड करते हैं ना कि कितना डेटाबेस है इसका, सिस ऑब्जेक्ट वाला.
नहीं
नहीं,
देखो,
जैसे
लिस्ट ऑफ
अपन
ऑल द डेटाबेस इन वन सर्वर.
लेट्स से तुम्हारा एक प्रोजेक्ट है, उसमें बहुत सारे डेटाबेस से डेटा आ रहा है, ऐसा बोल रहे हो?
नहीं, जैसे मेरा सॉफ्टवेयर है बीजी अकाउंटिंग सॉफ्टवेयर, उसके अंदर मल्टीपल कंपनी बनी हुई है, तो हर एक कंपनी का
कंपनी
एक डेटाबेस
नहीं नहीं
बनता
नहीं,
है.
कंपनी का डेटाबेस नहीं रहेगा. एक तुम्हारा कंपनी का टेबल रहेगा, उसमें मल्टीपल कंपनीज रहेंगे. तुम्हारे एप्लीकेशन में बोल रहे हो ना तुम कि तुम्हारे कोई एप्लीकेशन होगा उसमें मल्टीपल कंपनीज है, तो मल्टीपल
यस,
कंपनीज के डेटाबेस नहीं रहते, कंपनी नाम का टेबल रहता. अंडरस्टूड?
कंपनी नाम का एक कॉम्प नाम का एक टेबल बनता
टेबल
है उसमें.
रहेगा, उसमें तुम्हारे कंपनीज का रिकॉर्ड रहेगा.
हाँ, फिर वो सेलेक्टेड कंपनी के अंदर
हम्म.
इन करके फिर अपन डेटा गेट करेंगे, तो
हाँ,
वो
डेटा गेट
सिलेक्टेड
करेंगे.
कंपनी का क्या रहेगा, कैसे सेलेक्ट होगा वो?
वही बता रहा हूँ कि जैसे लेट्स से तुम्हारा एक टेबल होगा कंपनी का, उस कंपनी के ऊपर और डिफरेंट डिफरेंट टेबल्स होंगे डिपेंडेंट, और सारे डिपेंडेंट टेबल में कंपनी आईडी होगी एज अ फॉरेन की. सो जब भी तुम्हें कुछ डेटा चाहिए कंपनी रिलेटेड, तो वो फिल्टर करते हैं अपन, वेयर कंपनी आईडी इज इक्वल टू दिस. गेटिंग इट? वेट करो, जब हम प्रोजेक्ट चालू करेंगे ना तब वो तुम्हें समझेगा. तुम्हारा
अच्छा,
डाउट सही है
ठीक
कि
है.
तुम्हारे प्रोजेक्ट में मल्टीपल कंपनी, तो मल्टीपल कंपनी के डेटाबेस नहीं है. डेटाबेस में एक टेबल रहेगा कंपनी का, उस कंपनी में मल्टीपल कंपनी का डेटा जाएगा, और बाकी जो रिलेटेड टेबल होगी उसमें वो कंपनी आईडी एज अ फॉरेन की रहेगी.
जी सर.
हाँ
अच्छा, ये सर ये 1 to many, many to 1 में कवर
हाँ
होगा.
हाँ, वन टू मेनी वाला. ओके, जो हमने नहीं कल.
अच्छा सर, अभी आपने जैसे मॉडल बनाया इसमें,
हाँ.
एम्प्लॉय मॉडल बनाया,
हम्म.
तो एम्प्लॉय मॉडल हमारा एक टेबल से डेटा को
कनेक्टेड
गेट कर रहा है.
हाँ.
और सपोज अगर वी हैव अ ज्वाइन, मतलब ज्वाइन से हम डेटा को गेट कर रहे
हाँ,
हैं,
तो फिर हमें
मतलब
यहाँ पे ज्वाइन करना पड़ेगा. यहाँ पे क्या लिखा मैंने? सिंपली एक टेबल का डेटा है, बट अगर अपने दो तीन टेबल से ज्वाइन करके डेटा है तो यहाँ पे ज्वाइन लिखना पड़ेगा.
अच्छा, यहाँ पे भी हमें क्वेरी लगानी पड़ेगी.
यहाँ पे लिखना पड़ेगा, दो मॉडल ज्वाइन करके अपने को डेटा निकालना पड़ेगा.
तो जैसे वहां पे मॉडल में हमने एम्प्लॉय लिखा, तो ज्वाइन से अगर हमें 10 फील्ड, सपोज 10 फील्ड हम लेके आ रहे हैं, तो जो जो ज्वाइन से
चाहिए.
जो फील्ड हम लेके आ रहे हैं वो सारे फील्ड हम यहाँ पे
राइट.
मतलब दिखाएंगे.
जैसे डेटाबेस में ज्वाइन होता है ना, वैसे ही सेम ज्वाइन
ओके.
यहाँ पे लिखेंगे, बट यूजिंग एंटिटी एसक्यूएल लिंक की क्वेरी लिखेंगे. ओके, सेम जैसे आपको डेटाबेस में ज्वाइन पता है, सेम अपन यहाँ पे लिखेंगे. ओके,
ये जैसी चीज अगर हमें डेटाबेस फर्स्ट के थ्रू अगर मैं कर रहा हूँ, तो फिर उसे कैसे करूंगा?
सी अप्रोच कुछ भी हो आपका, डेटाबेस फर्स्ट रहे, कोड फर्स्ट फर्स्ट रहे, कंट्रोलर हैज नथिंग टू डू विथ इट। समझ रहे हो? आपका अप्रोच कोई भी रहे, अप्रोच इज जस्ट वे टू कनेक्ट द डेटाबेस
ओके
ना, वो वन टाइम थिंग है, वो हो गया। कंट्रोलर हैज नथिंग टू डू कि आपका डेटाबेस का अप्रोच क्या है। आपने डेटाबेस अप्रोच से बनाया तो भी आपको डीबी कॉन्टेक्स्ट मिलने वाला है, कोडफस से भी बनाया तो भी आपको यही मिलने वाला है। सो कंट्रोलर को नहीं पता चलेगा, कंट्रोलर का कुछ लेना देना ही नहीं है कि अप्रोच कौन सा यूज किया है। वो सिर्फ यहाँ पे है, जो मॉडल हमने अभी क्रिएट किए डेटाबेस फर्स्ट में, वो उसने ऑटोमेटिकली क्रिएट किया, दैट्स इट। वो जस्ट एक
और यहाँ पे आप मतलब नेक्स्ट क्लास या नेक्स्ट क्लास में यहाँ पे आप ज्वाइन वैसे यूज
हाँ
करेंगे
हाँ,
ना?
ऑब्वियसली ना, वो सब जैसे
ओके ओके
सारी चीजें
ओके
कंप्लीट होने वाली है, लॉगिन, ऑथेंटिकेशन, एक ही टेबल, एक ही एपीआई में मल्टीपल डेटा कैसे भेजेंगे, मल्टीपल डेटा रीड कैसे करेंगे, ईमेल कैसे सेंड करना है, सारी जो जो बेसिक चीजें वो सारी कवर होगी, डोंट वरी।
सर ये एपीआई में सर वर्शनिंग और ऑथेंटिकेशन आपने जो बोला वो जेडब्ल्यू टूल वगैरह यूज करके करा
वर्जनिंग, वर्जनिंग
सर एपीआई का
आमिर, जोर जोर से बोला, आवाज नहीं समझ में आ रहा है।
सर एपीआई वर्शनिंग यूज
हाँ,
करेंगे क्या
वर्जनिंग
इसमें?
होता है ना एपीआई में, तो वो बताओ
हाँ
वर्जनिंग
और
क्या
सर
होता
ऑथेंटिकेशन वो कौन सा
है।
ऑथेंटिकेशन
जेडब्ल्यूटी,
सर?
जेडब्ल्यूटी यूज करें।
जेडब्ल्यू ओके
सर एक्चुअली आप बोल रहे थे कि इधर क्या क्या यूज हुआ है इसमें, तो इसमें मैं देख पा रहा हूँ इनहेरिटेंस यूज हुआ है, कंस्ट्रक्टर
राइट,
यूज हुआ है, और
इनहेरिटेंस
आई
यूज
इन आई इन इट मीन्स के इंटरफेस भी यूज हुआ है।
इन इन्यूमरेबल मतलब काइंड ऑफ डेटा
जेनरिक
जनरिक
जेनरिक
डेटा
कलेक्शन, जेनरिक कलेक्शन।
कलेक्शन।
और आई इनरूबल मतलब कि इंटरफेस क्रिएट किया है,
इंटरफेस है ये, इसको
इंटरफेस भी हुआ है,
देखो ये इंटरफेस है।
तो इंटरफेस भी यूज हुआ है।
हाँ, इंटरफेस भी यूज हुआ है, बट अगर लेट
तो
से
सर
कंसिडर फॉरगेट कि आपको ये टॉपिक भी नहीं पता रहते, तो भी कहीं पे अड़ा
हो
के
जाता
वो बता रहा, राइट।
हाँ सर, ये एक्चुअली ये क्या है कि इसका फोल्डिंग यूज करके हो जाएगा, लेकिन अगर हम लोग क्रिएट करने जाएंगे तो फंस जाएंगे।
नहीं फंसते, कल बताऊंगा मैं भाई।
ठीक
ये आई न्यूमरल लिखना ही ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है, ये असिंग टास्क लिखना ही है ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है। ये कोड पूरा उसने दिया ना, तो प्रॉपर कोड दिया, ऐसा नहीं लिखा, बेसिक कोड भी लिख सकते हैं अपन, वो कल देखेंगे, विदाउट
हाँ, बेसिक कोड भी
नॉलेज
हो
ऑफ
सकता है
दिस
सर,
ऑल्सो।
लेकिन यहाँ आई आई ये इंटरफेस भी यूज हुआ है, मैं वो बता।
सर
नहीं, फिर आई न्यूमरेबल लिखने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, डायरेक्टली हम लिस्ट रिटर्न करेंगे एम्प्लॉय मॉडल की। इंस्टेड
हाँ
ऑफ
सर।
लिस्ट वी विल राइट लिस्ट इन एंगल ब्रैकेट, वी विल पास एम्प्लॉय मास्टर।
ओके।
Basically, it is going to return the enumerable data only, but we are not writing it. Okay?
हाँ सर, एक्चुअली वो उसका कॉन्सेप्ट का थोड़ा सा ये
हाँ,
अच्छा हो
मैंने
जाएगा
जैसे
कि
बताया ना,
कौन सा कहाँ।
मुझे भी पहले अंडरस्टैंड करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि मुझे पता है सब, लेकिन आप लोगों को एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए मुझे पहले रिवाइज करना पड़ेगा। ओके, क्योंकि इसको
और
जरूरत
और
मुझे भी तो करने
और लेटेस्ट लेटेस्ट चीज आपके वर्जन में वो लोग ना चेंजेस किए हैं,
सर
इसलिए
एक क्वेश्चन
एक्चुअली
और
मुझे
है
पता
सर।
है।
वन थिंग एट।
अ,
हाँ,
एक मिनट। हाँ, तो सर मैं ये बोल रहा था कि अभी क्या है कि लेटेस्ट जो वर्जन आया है ना, उसमें इंटरफेस का इन्होंने कुछ अपग्रेड किया है।
इंटरफेस का।
अपग्रेड किया है, पहले क्या था कि हम लोग इंटरफेस में डिक्लेयर कर सकते थे सिर्फ, लेकिन
हाँ,
अभी क्या है कि हम लोग इनिशियलाइज भी कर सकते हैं, और
इंप्लीमेंट भी कर
उसमें
सकते हैं।
हाँ उसमें हम लोग डिफिनेशन भी दे सकते हैं, ऐसा कुछ हुआ है।
ओके, मेरे को भी नहीं पता,
हाँ,
देखना पड़ेगा। हाँ,
तो
पहले
इसके
तो
लिए
अपना
मैं बोल
वही
रहा
था
था उसका।
कि सिर्फ मेथड नेम है, और
हाँ,
आप
डिक्लेयर करके
जो भी
और
करेंगे
उसको
वो आप ही कर
यूज कर
सकते हैं।
सकते कहीं भी,
हाँ,
लेकिन अभी उन्होंने
एब्स्ट्रैक्ट क्लास
चेंजेस किया
जैसा
हुआ
हो गया अभी।
है। हाँ।
हम्म, ठीक है, मुझे भी प्रिपेयर करना पड़ेगा। हाँ विक्रांत, यू आर सेइंग समथिंग।
सर एक सर, हाँ हेलो,
हाँ,
हेलो सर।
बोलो।
सर मैं कह रहा हूँ कि ये जो आप एपीआई वगैरह बनाना बता रहे हैं सी शार्प में बता रहे हैं, तो वीबी डॉट नॉट
वीबी
डॉट
डॉट
नेट
नेट
और
यूज नहीं
ये
होता,
सी शार्प,
अभी वीबी डॉट नेट यूज नहीं होता।
तो मुझे मतलब मेरे कंपनी वाले जो है वीबी डॉट नेट का बोल रहे हैं ये इसमें प्रोग्रामिंग सीखो, तो मैं यदि सी शार्प पे फोकस करूंगा तो मेरा सारा काम हो जाएगा ना सर, क्योंकि डेटाबेस एसक्यूएल ही है।
हाँ, वीबी डॉट नेट में क्यों
कंपनी
यूज
सारा
करेगा? वीबी डॉट नेट यूज
प्रोवाइड
नहीं करते अभी,
करवाती।
जमाना हो गया, वीबी डॉट नेट
हाँ सर।
2000 के पहले ही खत्म हो गया।
अच्छा।
अभी 2025 में अपन। ओके, कंपनी
बट
को।
बट सर, कंपनियां
अच्छा।
अभी 25 में नहीं आई है।
नहीं ना, लेकिन VB.NET 2000
मैं
के
वही
पहले भी यूज
कंफ्यूज
होता
था
था
कि
क्या?
VB.NET पे
हाँ
फोकस
सर,
करें।
मैं एग्री कर रहा हूँ आपकी बात से, लेकिन कंपनियां अभी भी वो लोग अभी भी पुराने ही
वो
जमाने में।
होता है कि जो डेवलपर होगा, जो अभी मैनेजर बन गया होगा, उसने VB.NET से स्टार्ट किया, तो वो VB.NEट से ही कनेक्टेड।
हाँ, 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 वही वही बात।
देखना
नहीं
पड़ेगा VB.NEट कैसे लिखते हैं तुम। बट सेम प्रोजेक्ट जो अपन यहाँ पे क्रिएट कर रहे हैं ना
सर, वो क्या है
VB.NEट।
कि
VB.NET हमारा
वो ये है सर कि VB.NEट अभी कोई यूज नहीं करता है, नो डाउट। लेकिन क्या है कि प्रोजेक्ट उसी में आया ना, तो सपोर्ट करते करते वो लोग चल रहे उसी के कंटिन्यूएशन में लेकर
वही
चल
वही
रहे
वही उनको पता नहीं ना,
हाँ ये
अभी
बात है।
सीखे नहीं, तो उनको जो पता है उसी के साथ कंटिन्यू कर रहे हैं। हम्म।
यस यस। तो अब हम जो है बिल्कुल नए हैं, तो हम
नहीं देखो,
C# से सब
तुम्हारे
कुछ कनेक्ट कर लेंगे, क्योंकि
तुम्हारे प्रोजेक्ट में हो सकता है उन्होंने VB.NET के साथ किया, लेकिन मेरे को नहीं पता बाहर कंपनी में लेट से पुराने पिछले 10 साल का भी प्रोजेक्ट होगा ना, तो भी C# ही होगा। बहुत बाबा आदम के जमाने का प्रोजेक्ट होगा तो ही VB.NEट होगा, और वो भी अब तक
25 साल पुराना भी है सर।
रिवैम्प करना चाहिए था अब तक, क्योंकि बंदे कहाँ से मिलने वाले VB.NEट पे
नहीं,
काम।
मैं ये मेरा क्वेश्चन, सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि हमारा जो सॉफ्टवेयर है वो VB.NET में बना हुआ है, VB नहीं, विजुअल बेसिक में, और उसका डेटाबेस SQL और एक्सेस दोनों है। तो मैं
तुम्हारा
चाह रहा हूँ
विंडोज
कि,
एप्लीकेशन है क्या?
हाँ जी
विंडोज
हाँ जी।
विंडोज एप्लीकेशन VB.NEट में ही बनेगा, C# में नहीं बनता। समझे क्या?
बनता है सर, C# में बनता है ना, विंडोज
नहीं नहीं, मतलब
WPF।
C# में भी बना सकते हैं, लेकिन पहले जो विंडोज एप्लीकेशन बनते थे ना, वो टारगेटली VB.NEट के साथ ही बनते थे, फिर C# में भी चालू हो गया। तो विंडोज एप्लीकेशन अगर बहुत पुराना होगा तो VB.NEट में हो सकता है।
नहीं, मेरा टारगेट तो यही है सर कि उसमें जो डेटाबेस है ना उसको कनेक्ट करके वेब
हाँ,
एंगुलर में इसको करवा दें, बस
तो
इतना ही मैटर है।
C# में ही करोगे ना, VB.NEट क्यों यूज करोगे?
अच्छा ठीक है, तो मैं C# पे ही फोकस करूंगा, VB.NEट को छोड़ देंगे।
राइट, VB.NEट
मैं तो
एक
डेटाबेस से
क्वेश्चन,
मतलब है।
एक सिंपल क्वेश्चन है मेरा। जो हम C# में कर सकते हैं,
हम्म
वेब, जब वेब इंटरफेस जो हमारा है,
हम्म
क्या ये इतना रिच है जो हमारे डेस्कटॉप एप्लीकेशंस है,
हम्म।
सेम रिचनेस दे सकता है? क्योंकि मैं डेस्कटॉप एप्लीकेशंस 20 ईयर से बना रहा हूँ, मेरे पास VB.NEट के सारे हैं, क्रिस्टल रिपोर्ट्स मैंने बहुत यूज किए हैं, और
हम्म।
इसमें जो जितने भी डेस्कटॉप
देखो,
एप्लीकेशंस है बहुत रिच। जी।
कुछ चीजें ऐसी है जो विंडोज एप्लीकेशन में बहुत इजीली कर सकते थे, और बहुत एक्सटेंसिवली, बहुत एडवांस लेवल तक कर सकते हैं, वो चीजें वेब एप्लीकेशन में अपन नहीं कर सकते।
वालेकुम सलाम। तो सिंपल एक क्वेश्चन है, क्योंकि हमारा जो डेटा एंट्री के स्पीड ऑपरेटर्स होते हैं,
हम्म।
वो न्यूमेरिक कीपैड को यूज करते हैं,
वही
और
बोल रहा हूँ ना
इसमें जो
मैं,
एंटर।
कि
जी जी।
जैसे
तो
मेडिकल शॉप देखो, मेडिकल शॉप में कोई वेब एप्लीकेशन यूज नहीं करता, उनको विंडोज एप्लीकेशन ही चाहिए,
हम्म,
क्योंकि वो माउस को हाथ ही नहीं लगाते, पूरा कीपैड पे ही होता है उनका काम। जैसे
ये
कोई
मेरा सबसे
मैन्युफैक्चरिंग
पहला
इंडस्ट्री है।
सबसे क्वेश्चन मेरा यही होगा, क्योंकि मेरे डेस्कटॉप एप्लीकेशंस मेरा भी चल रहे हैं,
राइट।
VB.NEट पे बने हुए हैं, वो बहुत एडवांस लेवल के सॉफ्टवेयर हमने बनाए हुए हैं, वो बहुत स्पीड ऑपरेटर्स के लिए
वही,
बने हुए हैं। अभी हमारा
तो वो
ऐप है
यूजर
ट्रैवल
स्पेसिफिक
एजेंसीज के लिए।
सॉफ्टवेयर बनते हैं, जैसे मैन्युफैक्चरिंग
हाँ
इंडस्ट्री होती है, जहाँ पे
जी
बहुत सारी बड़ी बड़ी मशीन्स है, राइट, और उनको ऑपरेट करने का, तो उनको विंडोज एप्लीकेशन चाहिए। नो वन इज गोइंग टू यूज माउस, वहां पे माउस होते भी नहीं है,
जी। तो
क्योंकि
हमारे जो वेब एप्लीकेशंस है, जैसे हम एंगुलर यूज कर रहे हैं, तो क्या इसमें मतलब इस किस्म की रिचनेस कोई
नहीं,
पॉसिबिलिटी है, या हम
नहीं है
माउस के साथ ही
पॉसिबिलिटी।
यूज
जो
करेंगे?
विंडोज में पॉसिबिलिटी है ना, वो वेब में नहीं है पॉसिबिलिटी, है,
तो
लेकिन
स्टिल वी हैव।
वो परफॉर्मेंस दे ही नहीं सकते वेब एप्लीकेशन।
तो मतलब यह है कि हमें स्टिल डेस्कटॉप एप्लीकेशन चाहिए, उसके बगैर हम नहीं
चाहिए
रह
ही
सकते।
चाहिए, ऐसा बोल ही नहीं सकते हो तुम कभी कि विंडोज एप्लीकेशन निकलेंगी, पॉसिबल ही नहीं है। वेब एप्लीकेशन हैज
हम्म,
अ लिमिटेड पर्पस, राइट।
तो मोस्टली मशीन्स के लिए विंडोज ही यूज होते हैं।
हाँ, जहाँ पे भी मशीन के ऑपरेटर के साथ है, जहाँ पे डेटा सेंट्रिक एप्लीकेशन और बहुत कीपैड कीपैड यूज होने वाला है, तो वहां पे विंडोज एप्लीकेशन ही प्रेफर की जाती है। ओके।
ओके ओके,
बट
थैंक यू।
विंडोज एप्लीकेशन अभी तो ये C# और ये डॉट नेट के डॉट नेट कोर जो जब से आया है, सब सब ये इसमें सब बना सकते हैं।
विंडोज कोर में नहीं बनता, मैं ढूंढ के चेक किया मैंने, वो फ्रेमवर्क मतलब वो टेम्पलेट ही नहीं है इनका, कोर में नहीं है, वो पुराने एप्लीकेशन में ही था। मतलब अगर आपने नया 4.7 के बाद इंस्टॉल किया तो तुमको वो ऑप्शन ही नहीं मिलेगा विंडोज एप्लीकेशन क्रिएट करने का, वो पुराने इसमें ही है, पुराने VS को 12 तक, 15 तक है, विजुअल स्टूडियो 15 तक।
लेकिन हमने कुछ देखे हैं कि एंगुलर के साथ अगर हम कैपेसिटर का यूज करें, कॉर्डोवा का यूज करें, तो वो इलेक्ट्रॉन मेरे ख्याल में उनका है कुछ, उसमें डेस्कटॉप एप्लीकेशन भी बन सकता है, लेकिन वो मेरे ख्याल में वेब जो है
वेब
उसका
ये
ही
है,
कुछ
वेब एप्लीकेशन ही है वो। विंडोज
फ्रेम ऐसा कुछ
एप्लीकेशन में
बनेगा,
जाएगा,
फ्रेम के अंदर उसको
मोबाइल
दिखाएगा।
एप्लीकेशन,
हाँ
राइट, फ्रेम के अंदर
हाँ,
दिखाएगा।
फ्रेम के अंदर दिखाएगा, तो मतलब
सर
वो
वो
रिचनेस इसमें नहीं आ
सर
सकता।
रिकॉर्डिंग स्टॉप कर दीजिए।
हेलो।